today. Tony.
Allison, the Supreme Court says that states cannot up the ante on existing voter laws by requiring people to provide documentation that they're American citizens before registering to vote. They also have yet to rule on gay marriage, but we're expected to hear that ruling any time now. Joining us now for more on these rulings is John Gramlich. He is a staff writer with CQ Roll Call. Thank you for coming in, sir. Good
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about this, what went down yesterday. And, you know, as I read the stories about it, it's a little confusing. Hopefully I summarized it correctly there. Essentially, they're saying, hey, the states cannot require people to show a proof that they are indeed American citizens before before they can register to vote.
Right. This was a conflict between state law and federal law, and basically federal law requires people to attest under a penalty of perjury that they are American citizens. But the Arizona law was a little bit different. It went a step further and said that people need to not only attest that they're U.S. citizens, but provide documentation to prove that's the case. So the Supreme Court ruled and said that the Constitution, under a principle called preemption, basically the federal law wins out, and the state law needs to honor that.
So does this mean that the fact that people have to affirm that they are citizens under risk of perjury, that's enough?
That's enough for now, although the important words there are for now, because the way that the Supreme Court opinion was written yesterday, it basically said that that the federal government needs to do a bit more to ensure this, and if Arizona wants to come back in the future and challenge this in a different way, basically the Supreme Court said we would take a look at that. So for now, right now, the federal form to attest that you're a citizen under penalty of perjury is enough.
And this did apply to Arizona. There are some dozen other states that are considering these proof of citizenship requirements and the like. Does this, it sounds like what you're saying is that does not necessarily put the kibosh on those efforts.
It does for the short term, but not for the long term. There's 4 states right now, at least 4 states that have very similar laws, and those laws are going to be affected in the short term. And as you mentioned, there's about a dozen others who have been looking at this. And in Congress, there's a lot of support for this kind of provision. There were some members of Congress yesterday who put out statements who basically said, you know, we disagree with this opinion, and we want to change the federal law so that the federal law matches the Arizona law. And that would be one way of getting around it. The Supreme Court's ruling in this case may not be final.
One of the things when you hear people who disagree with the court's ruling, one of the things that they point out is that, look, we're in a new age right now. We're fighting this terrorism effort, and maybe it's not a good idea to let people get, you know, a variety of different documents, a voter registration card, maybe a driver's license, and not be American citizens, not necessarily be American citizens.
And the counterpoint to that is that this is the fundamental right to vote, and that in some cases people may not have those documents to prove that they were born here, but they were in fact born here. The American Civil Liberties Union, they were very happy with the ruling yesterday, and they put out a statistic saying that 90% of the people who were denied under the Arizona law actually were born in the United States and should have been allowed to vote. So from the other point of view, it's denying people this fundamental right.
Gotcha. Gay marriage. Do we have any idea when the court is going to speak on that?
Everybody is waiting for that one, and so officially there's only 2 more opinion days left in the term, and but I think more will be added. So the one thing we can say with certainty is that they will decide it before the end of the month, and in a case like that where it's very complicated, it's probably going to be the very last thing they do before they all head out of town and go to their various obligations for the summer.
All right. John Gramlich is with CQ Roll Call. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.